Did I mention how awesome this stuff is? And nice and smooth. I wish I could paint the whole car with this stuff. Well, maybe not that. Welcome back to the garage. Alright, welcome back everybody. Tonight's goal and only goal is to get this patch redone. It's about 4:25 or so, getting a little bit of a later start than I normally do. So I obviously got some work here to do. If you remember the last visit, I kind of tacked this little guy in here, not very well, but it's holding, to try to get some of that flex in the shape back. I'll use the contour gauge and mark it as a couple points along just to try to match it as close as possible with the other side. And then go from there and see how it works. So if I get that done and can keep going, then I may move on to the bodywork phase and getting these the lows kind of knocked out. I got this whole sail plate yet to do, but that's about it for tonight. So a little bit of an abbreviated visit, so we'll see how it goes. So I've got another little patch. You can just barely see it right there, ready to go. I'm using the contour gauge again, just like I am on the other side, and trying to map myself down. The problem that I have is that the original wing, probably as you would think, contour is pretty good as far as the slope goes, but the bottom, or the replacement panel, and right about in the center is this where that transition was, this is a little too flat. So it's not bowing out enough. It's not really giving me, if you remember I did in the last time, I kind of pushed here, I don't really have that flexibility down here, so it's got to come out by a pull. So what I'm going to do is I got this little patch like you can see there, and I'm going to tack that into the top to the original fender, and then I'm going to try to kind of pull out a little bit and see if I can, like I did here, see if I can get that patch to kind of grab the bottom and hopefully work it out a little bit. I'm not sure that this is going to totally work. Regardless, at the end of the day, I'm going to have butt welds instead of lap welds. So if nothing else, even if I have to do a little bit more filler than I would like to do here, it's going to be a better repair because it's going to be less susceptible to rusting. So at least I hope so. Alright, so hopefully you followed along with what I did there. I lost the connection at the top. I didn't have good penetration, so I had to redo that. But again, essentially I'm welding it to one side, pushing out a little bit, and welding it to the other side. And then while the contour gauge, you have to kind of trust me, it's coming in. So I think I'm just going to kind of walk sections around here every couple inches and put a piece of the patch in and just kind of work my way. And I mean, I don't know how else to do it. You can't purchase the bottom patches that are taller than that, and there's no way I'm going to replace a whole wing. Just risk too much damage and the 50,000 spot welds and everything else that I would have to worry about, and the stuff that I've already got done, that just not financially or time or anything else feasible to be doing that. So this is the path that I'm going to take, and hopefully it'll work out for me. Well, that's pretty nasty, but it is what it is. So I'm going to go around now and fill everything with weld metal, work my way around. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 separate patches going on in there. Again, like I said, this might not end up being any prettier as far as the amount of body work that I need to do on it, but at least I know I won't have the rust trap and the water trap behind it with the lap weld. So I'm going to adjust the heat on the welder a little bit here and start filling these gaps, grind some stuff down, and see how it goes. Not really happy with that at all. It's not too bad in here. but it loses it pretty quick. And the repair is worse than what I started with. A lot of blow through up here. You can see all the holes in it. So I think I might hack this out again. I hate to say that, but you know, another one of those things where I just can't put that much filler in there. I just can't do it. So I'll probably look at hacking this out again, taking another approach, do some studying, do some thinking, and you know, I think at the end of the day it's just entirely too much welding in there, and you know, I'll revisit this. I'm done for the night. It's about 8 o'clock. I'm gonna call it a night while I'm still of sound mind and body, and revisit this on the weekend trip. So see you in a sec. All right, 9 o'clock Saturday morning. Welcome back. I hemmed and hawed and thought some more, and I'm going to cut out not all of this patchwork that I did, but a significant majority of it. So I think you can see lightly anyway. I got a black mark here. I'm going to cut out all that, try to get all the heat damage out of there, and just the horrible welding. And then a slightly longer but straight patch here that I've got marked off. I've already been working on the repair patch for this here. You can see that the angle is relatively complicated. I don't have it perfect yet, but it's not too bad. So I got a little bit of work to do down there to kind of fill that gap in, but I've just been using the hammer and the anvil there just to kind of work this in. So now, I don't normally do it this way. I normally cut the hole and then make the patch, and that's probably not the best way to do it, to make sure that you got a good fitting patch. But in a lot of the repairs that I've done, there hasn't been any metal underneath to trace like there is kind of here. So even though obviously I've got some damaged metal here that I've damaged or that has been damaged, I try to cut around that to minimize the patch pattern from being messed up. So I did take a piece of paper and trace it out, and then trace it out on this piece of metal and all that. So I'm just now going to cut this big hunk out, get this patch placed in there a little bit better, and get it tacked in. Wait a lot more time in between tacks, and just try to make my welding a lot colder, or to let it cool off a lot better to minimize the heat distortion. You can see that I got that pretty much cut out there. This patch will go in like this. Lines up not too bad. Still some some final fitting and everything to do, obviously. I got a little bit more curvature to get towards this side here, but cautiously optimistic about how this looks. If you remember, I've been using my original boot lid, Dorothy's original boot lid, since it was rusted out on the very bottom. I've been using that as all of my scrap metal, and I don't have any more chunks of it.
So I gotta go hack some more out of it. Make this big piece in here, but again, this is gonna pretty much take this whole hunk out of here. Some of that was off camera, but it's going almost all the way to the wing. So I'm gonna go get that metal prepped and everything and work on this a little bit, and then I'll be back. Got the piece fit. There's still some spring to it and everything. If you can see, I don't have it flush everywhere. And all I'm gonna do is just tack in a couple places and either push from the inside or pull, push from the inside or push from the outside just to get this fit. Obviously this corner is probably the worst, so I'll tack up at the top and then push in the bottom. This piece needs to kind of twist like this, and I just wasn't able to recreate that. But I got a pretty good gap around everywhere. You can see I'm using these little clamp guys that I've not really used all that much, but I want to use this time. I don't intend on doing any tacking on here because this whole entire piece is going to come out, so those two will be tacked together. You can maybe see that I'm taking a little bit more care this time. You would think, especially given that the bulkhead repair that I did and cut out and redid again, I didn't take the care that I should have then. I'm not taking the care I should have this time. But I wanted to show you, this is the piece. This was this piece that I cut out here, so this guy was fitting in like this. You can see the back here, just how horrible that is. I've been having some problems with penetration in my welds just generally, so I cleaned up the weld tip pretty good, cleaned out the nozzle. There was a little piece of metal or something in one of these holes. If you can see those little holes right there, that's where the gas comes through. 3 of them are working, so I don't really expect that to be a problem. Brand new tip here. This guy right here is replaceable. I mean, it didn't look like it was wrecked or anything like that, but it's going to be better than nothing, hopefully. I also have this nozzle gel. I'm not, you just kind of dip the tip in there for that kind of stuff, and it's supposed to keep everything clean. I've used this on and off. I'll use this again, and got a good ground here just to see if maybe I can figure out what my welding issues are, where just the weld metal would kind of spool up or bead up on the weld, just not penetrating the metal at all. My initial guess is it's heat, just not enough heat, but I crank the welder up a little bit and increase the wire speed, and then I start burning through, so I'm not positive that that's what it is. But anyway, I'm going to get the weld in here and get this thing tacked in, and once it gets tacked in a half a dozen places or something like that, then I'll cut this piece out and get a piece ready to go on that. I already have that piece somewhere around here. I don't remember what I did with it, but that's already cut, but I just got to cut it out of the car. Got my 2 pieces here in weld through primer, just because you really can't get back in there very well, so I figured I'd get something on the back sides of them. So while I'm waiting for that to dry, I kind of scuffed up the sail plate here, and you can see all the highs and lows. Pretty bad spot in here, and then I can't remember which side it was. I think it was this side now. I had some filler in this area. You could feel a pretty big indentation there. The good thing about this is there's a lot of access under here. The bad thing is that there's no support under here. So this is, with the exception of these 2 supports right here, which creates a high spot and a pretty hard spot in there, there's no support under this thing. So it's going to be harder to work, because I'm afraid I'm just going to move the dent around a little bit, and hard to keep the dents out of there. I'm hoping once the gas tank gets in there, that's going to provide some, but I don't believe the gas tank actually comes up underneath the sail plate too much. It's been so long since it's been in there, I don't remember, so we'll see how that goes. But I'm going to work on this, just hammer and dolly work while I'm waiting for that paint to dry, and see if I can make any progress on it. Got the piece fit up. A couple magnets at the top, and there's clamps at the bottom. And essentially, like I said, what I'm going to do is kind of work my way around, tacking in a couple places. Not going to tack over here at all, because I'm going to hack that metal out. But I want to tack it where it's flush right now. So there's a couple of those. I'll take advantage of that. Right on the other side of this magnet is one. And again, half a dozen tacks or so, not too much. I may push on the back. We'll see kind of how it shapes up as I work my way around here. And try not to get too much heat. Got the air hose over here. Oops. Got the air hose over here with some air, obviously. And wish me luck that the welder works and I don't mess this up like I did the last time. half a dozen tacks, but that's okay. What do I got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. This corner over here is in kind of bad shape. One, I had a lot of heat damage here. Here, the inner, or the original wing kind of starts to bend in a little bit, probably from radiated heat damage. So I'm going to leave this corner as it is right now. I might try to push a little bit from the back, but I don't think I'm going to weld it in until I get the other piece in. But otherwise, so far so good on that. Pieces fit up. I have to, minor adjustments as I weld along, just like it's been. But otherwise, it's ready to go in. I'm going to grab a bite to eat real quick and then start a welding. Got this thing tacked in, several tacks throughout. Looks much better. I'm sure I'm not out of the woods yet, but I'm much happier with the way this came out. Again, I think just too much heat and then making the patch too small, too many. Just instead of just approach that whole repair wrong the first time. A little concerned about this area in here, but this didn't really suffer too much heat distortion, and this is where the fender flare starts to come in, and I don't want to make this play with this any more than I've already messed stuff up, so I'm going to try to leave that. I'll do some grinding still in there, but otherwise some stitch welding to do here to finish and close all the gaps and get that sorted, and I'll come back and show you when that's all done. So this looks kind of weird, but in my studying for how to minimize heat and all that kind of stuff, it turns out that a guy that I subscribe to on YouTube, Trev, I'll put a link to his site. He had several videos. He went away for a couple months, and now he's back putting out videos. Just put out a pretty long, it's just short of 2 hours, a video on just general stuff that people have asked him. Pretty sure the guy's from Britain. Pretty sure the guy does this kind of stuff for a living. I don't know for certain, but definitely to hear him talk, he seems to infer that he does it for a living. But he has a tip where you take some paper towels. I'm using the blue Scott shop towels, get them wet, and kind of put them around the outside of the weld, and the wetness will tend to soak up some of the heat from your welding, especially if you're doing long areas. He showed an example and did it, and it's hard, the guy's done it for 20 years, so who knows if it's just his skill or if it's you know, this actually working, so it's hard as a viewer to know for sure. So I figured I'd give it a try here and see what happens. Hopefully I won't light anything on fire, but you do have to keep it wet every once in a while, obviously, and re-wet it because it's going to soak up the heat and start to dry out. So, but I'll give it a shot and I'll come back and let you know if I think it made a difference. Again, I'm still going to be careful. I'm still going to use compressed air, which may, who knows, may very well blow these things off. It may just become more painful than it's worth. But I'll let you know if I think it works. It's definitely a heck of a lot better than it was. So that's all welded in. I'm going to do some grinding now and get it down. There's a couple spots where it has some distortion right here. In this union here, it looks like it sank in a little bit. Again, I wasn't looking for perfection by any means, but it's definitely a lot better. So I'll get this ground down and see how that shapes up, fill any larger holes if I can, and then move on from there. Cleaned up pretty well. Got a couple spots, little guy there, down there, in there, that I'm probably going to try to hit with weld metal again and fill. But the rest of the holes I'll just get with fiberglass filler and epoxy primer. Unfortunately, when I was cleaning the place up, I also found this real thin piece of metal there. Probably a combination of the very original repair that I did down here. If you can remember, I replaced this run down here, and that's right about in the area of the brand new fender piece where the lap joint was, and just probably just a combination of beating the heck out of that metal. So I've already got a little piece cut. I'm going to tack that in there and get that welded in and smoothed in. Unfortunately, that's right on where the fender flare is, so it's probably not going to be real pretty by the time I get it done, but I'll try to make it work as well as I can, and then we'll see where we see what we're going to tackle next. I do have some distortion here. I forgot to point that out, especially up in here. Like I had said, there's a big high spot here, a bunch of lows here, but it is better than it was. Ignoring that, especially this sank in pretty good here. I'm kind of upset about that, but it's not as much filler is going to need to go down as it was last time, and I'm going to try to hammer some of that out too. So we'll see how that goes. Got that filled in. Got lucky, I think, for the most part there. There's definitely some inconsistencies there, but not too bad. So yeah, so that's except for the body work, that's done, and much happier with it. Definitely the size of the repair patches, I think, definitely made the big difference. I don't know if using the rags, the wetted rags that I showed you, I forgot to mention that. I don't know if they helped. They definitely didn't hurt. And they definitely were drying out, and you could feel that they were definitely absorbing some heat. So anyway, I'm going to beat on this a little bit and see if I can get some of this out of here and just go around and do some body work. It's about 20 to 3, so I don't have a whole lot of time left in me here today, but we'll do something. I was able to use the stud puller here and get a lot of that out. It came out a little easier than I thought it would, to tell you the truth. So that's I'm happy with where that sits right now. I'll hit it with epoxy and then get the filler work going on it. As far as the rest of the stuff goes, I'm going to mix up some filler right now. I still got epoxy on all this, and all these little spots I've scuffed them up so you can see that they're still kind of there, but they're a little bit lighter. So again, 7-day window on the epoxy to put something over top, unless it's going to be filler, and then you can hit it with 180 grit sandpaper. And this is from Southern Polyurethanes. You can scuff it up with 180 grit sandpaper and then put filler over top of it. But if you're going to do any paint stuff, they want you to be within the 7-day window or recoat. And then I worked on this sail plate here, and it's just it's better, but there's no way that I'm going to get this all done. Some oil cannon in there that I'm not going to really worry about. Again, there's no support under this thing. This is a hard high spot right here. Another hard high spot right here, not as bad, and that's because of the sports that are under there. I've pointed those out to you before, and that's just jamming into that. These other couple hard spots here, I've knocked down. So anyway, I'm going to make up a whole bunch of filler here and get it on this spot. Essentially, cover the whole entire rear sail plate there, and then that portion of the wing over there, and then probably leave it. I don't think I'm going to block anything out today. I don't feel like making a mess at this point. Alright, body filler's on there for the most part. I ran out a little bit towards the end over here, but I'm just going to let that set up now and take care of it on the next visit. All right, everybody, that's it for me for the weekend. Thanks so much for watching. Please leave a comment below. Tell me what you think. Happy with the way that repair came out on the wing. Wish I had gone about it that way the first time around. But again, a little bit of a lesson learned there. A little bit of an experience gathering exercise. So not too bad. Got the filler going now on that part of the rear wing and on the rear sail plate. And hopefully now we're kind of picking ourselves up from the abyss there and starting to glide slope our way out into getting this guy in a build primer. So another couple more visits probably worth of body work, some build primer going on there, some block sanding, and we'll be looking at color hopefully soon. Thanks again. Have a good rest of your weekend. Cheers.